All right. So you know where we left off, which is the diagnosis and the plan. What we're going to have to do and what we're about to do. So just as a reminder, the reason we're going to these links is because of this situation. Well, there's your problem. So these are essentially my tools for the removal. You have the heat source. You have the get in betweeny thingy. You have the cut stuff thingy and the smack stuff thingy. But not for real. Okay, so the iron heats the glue, which then this is able to get into the spaces between the glued pieces and start to separate stuff. This is a very fine saw. You can barely see the edge of it, right? This is smaller than the width of a fret slot. This is what I use to cut the fretboard with. So I can make a real nice straight cut through the fret slot and then drop it off. And this guy is in case anything gets a little stubborn. Rock on. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna kind of wait, and then we're gonna wait a little bit more. And once this heats up enough, we can start to make some real progress. So like I said, we had to cut through a fret slot right here, and then we have applied our heat, and we're basically ready to. Well, no, that was planned for the video. That's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly how it should happen. This is what happened when I did it in real life. Like, I applied the heat, I barely got in there, and the damn thing just fell apart. So what that means is you got to take a look at the repair that was done here. And basically, you see anything that's not covered in glue means that that thing wasn't touching the other thing. And I know about this. We're going to get that fixed up. Don't worry too much about that. It's going to be just fine. But I mean, the thing wasn't even really glued all the way together. You can look down here too and see this is where the break really happened. It's kind of strange to have a break happen at a scarf joint, which means to me that whoever actually broke it really went for it. And I don't understand what the deal really was. But so yeah, what I did here was I went ahead and sawed through a fret slot. I removed the 5th fret, sawed through the fret slot, and then that way I could remove just a part of the fretboard instead of the whole fretboard. See, on this guitar, the truss rod inserts way down here instead of up at the headstock. So I just want to take off a little bit of the fretboard, not a big deal. Here's the end of the fretboard. Here's the end of the truss rod cover right there. And again, on this part of the break, you can kind of see that there are some places where the glue is not secured, and it just basically built up glue on nothing. Here's the underside of the fretboard. Whoop. There's underside of the fretboard. Here's the top part, and here's the underside, the part that was glued to the neck. And you can very clearly see where those shiny spots are where glue dried by itself without really touching anything. Those rough spots and the spots that have other woods on it and stuff like that, that's really just kind of slop. But that means that those two pieces connected. That means that right here on the edge, the glue didn't really hold anything down. It was just on the end. So that means that he had some kind of bad clamping pressure. Not a real big deal. So what we're going to have to do is go in here and clean all this off. Sand it nice and flat. I told you about this little thing up here that happened, so I'm going to have to replace a little bit of material, which is not a big deal. And then this binding is very salvageable. There's just going to end up being a little scar, but I'm going to blend that right here. So I don't want you worried too much about that. We're going to get that hooked up. And, up here, this is actually in pretty good shape. The whole repair is actually, it's like the break is still pretty clean, but the guy just didn't really glue it all that well together. One of the problems is going to be on this part of the neck right here. This is the headstock. So that gray stuff, I think that's actually some kind of weird filler or something like that. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up taking some material out here anyway, with either you know, a Dremel or just some hand sanding. That way I can put a new piece of material on the back when I do get it clamped up together, so I can kind of build up that, whoa, motion sickness. So I can build up that part of the neck that needs to get, the new material, that little lump back there, this little lump right here. So we'll get that fixed up. We'll get some new paint on it, but that's for a later video. I saw y'all trip out when I did that, and the thing came off. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, man, I have seen worse. This is pretty bad, but I have seen worse. So the moral of the story is, we'll get you hooked up.